Go ahead.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day here in Bronie's world. And at Bronie's desk today, we have my most famous pharmacist and best friend in the world joining us today. And now I just want to mention a fortnight ago today, when we were sitting here doing this broadcast, I'm not sure if you remember, Ben, but I was saying just watching the flood waters because we were flooding here and we went in. It continued for several days. We were cut off. So we have massive floods here that broke the records. Our town has been pretty much destroyed.
Are you serious?
I am.
What town?
Serious. Tari.
What town is it?
Well, it's not just Tari, it's our whole district. There's another town near it called Wingham.
Wow.
And we're still cleaning out mud and stuff. Praise God, our home was not flooded.
It could have easily been.
Absolutely. This is the first flood since we've come back from Melbourne that it has not even lapped at our front and back door.
What?
So we were.
Wait. The water is still in the front. Hang on. The water's still front and back door?
No, this is the first year it hasn't. Every time we have floods here, it usually is. So we are feeling extremely blessed, but the river went directions that it has never gone before. And
why is this from rain?
Yes, from rain, from very heavy rains and storms and a cyclone off the edge of the country. But anyway, the reason I mentioned that, Ben, I don't know if you remembered, I mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
But just last night, I found out from a friend of mine, this before we get on to the prostate thing, okay? A friend, and because this is going to be, I think, very prevalent, but a friend of mine who's an electrician was out helping people, to get their electricity back on and cleaning up and everything. And he got a bit of gastro and become very unwell. So for a couple of days, he couldn't do anything. Then being the person that he is, went back out and helped. And ended up having a heart attack. And
are you serious?
They he didn't have it while he was out working, but he felt the pain and stuff. So went to the hospital. They said, "Yes, he had a heart attack." Sent him to Newcastle, and they're telling him he got myocarditis, and he's not jabbed, by the way, from the gastro. Now I don't know.
Wait, I don't know what the gastro. I don't know what you mean by gastro.
Gastroenteritis.
Oh yeah, you can have that. Absolutely.
So I don't know if that's possible.
Well, hang on.
With the mud and the filth that comes from flooding, I can see it's going to be very prevalent in the district. So I thought it would be good to ask you, how can we help people to either prevent themselves getting that sick?
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk for sure. We'll talk about that. But I wanted to say something real quick. I've been in a couple floods. And the muck and the dirt and the smell, and that's really, people don't realize that. They've never been in a flood. I wouldn't have known that's what gross. Really gets you. It's unreal. It's unreal. And here, sometimes it's sewage and human waste, literally, as disgusting as you want to go there, as disgusting as you can imagine. And that's all here in the United States. Sometimes that's like town, like maybe like you're describing, towns where it's like 2 feet of that muck. That filth. And yes, it's toxic to all get out. It's toxic as can be. So yes, all that is possible. So we'll talk about that. When
you see shops and homes that are literally, you can't even see the roof.
Just because of the muck?
No, the flood went over the roofs of businesses as well as homes.
That's unreal. That's there's no way to describe that awfulness.
So you can imagine how much muck is.
And it lasts for years, by the way. It lasts for years.
We've had roads washed away, bridges washed away.
Yeah.
People are still cut off.
But you know what, Bronie? We take so many things for granted. We take a bridge for granted. We drive over bridges. We take it for granted. We're so on the precipice at any given moment. We're so on the precipice, right? In so many ways. You never hear the sword of Damocles? The sword of Damocles? It hangs over.
Yeah, go ahead.
We all live that way, and that's just how it is. And we should be so thankful for every little thing that we have. But the brain doesn't do that. It's not our fault. Our brain just doesn't do that, because if things happen all the time, we just ignore them. but I'm glad you're okay, and that's that's an
Yeah,
awful thing, absolutely
I
awful
am.
thing. So we'll talk about gastroenteritis and myocarditis here in a second, and that's a very good question actually. But the prostate, okay? So
Yeah.
what's tell me you want me to tell you generally about the prostate, or is there something
Well,
specific?
I've had a lot of people ask, and I know someone in Karen's room, I think, too, asked about prostate health a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't get to that question. But there's a lot of men suffering with prostate issues, enlarged and cancer. And so I
All
think,
of that, all of
yeah,
that, all of
all
that.
of that.
Okay,
So I
all
think,
right.
hang on, we need to look after our men because we need our men.
Look after your men. But remember, and I've said it a few times, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's really important. We have carved the body up into parts,
Yeah.
pieces. The prostate, the heart, the intestine, the lungs, the brain, the eyes, the ears, the skin. We got a dermatologist for skin problems. You got a neurologist for nerve problems. You got a endocrinologist for hormone problems. You got an OBGYN for female problems. You got a cardiologist for heart problems. You got an immunologist for your allergy problems. We got all these specialties. That's not how the body works. Let me say that again. That's not how the body works.
Correct.
That vision of the body seems obvious to our eyes, was an advanced over the superstitious view we had of the body before the 15th century. In the 15th century, science began. The word science comes from the word sci, S-C-I, which means to cut, like scissors or schism. So we
Mm-hmm.
have taken the body and we've cut it into pieces. And we've looked at the prostate, and we looked at the heart, and we've looked at the stomach, and we consider disease to be prostate disease. We consider it to be heart disease. We consider pancreatic disease or nerve disease. We consider the disease to be an organ-based phenomena. It's not. It's not. It's not. I can't say. I'm trying to say it as forcefully as I can. It's not. It's not. I mean, this is so important because that idea is transparent. We don't know we have that idea. Do you ever see that cartoon where there's two fish talking and one fish says to the other, he says, "I heard this thing called water. I've heard of this thing called water." And the other fish says, "What? Water? What are you talking about?" They're in the water. They don't see it. They don't
Yeah.
see the water. We don't see the model, which cuts it all up and we just assume. And I've talked about it for a long time, but we just the drumbeat, the messaging, the memetics, the mind virus, the story, the narrative, the history, whatever you want to call it, is so embedded that we think we had a prostate problem. You don't have a prostate problem. And you don't have a heart problem. And you don't have a pancreatic problem and a skin problem and a brain problem. You have a system problem. And there's certain systems in the body that affect everything. Instead of looking at the little thing that we see, we're missing the big thing that connects everything. It's like we see the fingers, but not the hand.
Yeah.
Do you follow what I'm saying? Here's the fingers,
Totally.
prostate, and heart. We don't see it's all a hand. The problem is the hand. It's not, I'm going to fix the finger. It's not, you can't fix the finger. It's crazy when you think about it. And the great systems in the body are the things we talk about all the time. Digestive system, boom, first one, always. Not because I'm Mr. Food Guy. I know I said it a lot, but this is the great system of the body because it's how everything gets in. And it's linked to the immune system. The digestive system and the immune system are linked, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And all problems are immune problems. That alone tells you about the digestive system. All problems have inflammation associated with them, and inflammation is the calling card of the immune system. So all problems are immune. And it's really interesting. I heard a guy today talking about military budgets in the country. And in the United States, the military budget's $800 billion, right? Nearly
Yeah.
$1 trillion, $800 billion. And the only thing that's more than that is health. And between health and defense, we have most of where we spend our money. What do health and defense have in common? They're the same thing. They're all about the enemy getting into the system. Our body is a country, and our illnesses are military. They're have to do with entering the boundary. You follow what I'm saying? Like entering into a country. It's defense. And the defense system in the body is the inflammatory system and the immune system. All our problems are defensive. Do you ever hear that term defensive wounds, where people have defensive wounds? You know,
Yes.
that's our diseases. We have defensive wounds, except it's all defensive trauma. And it doesn't matter that it's the prostate, because I'm going to say the same thing about the prostate that I would have said if you asked me about the heart. Bronie, do I not say the same thing over and over and over and over again? Every time. Every time. I say the same thing because the system, it's the same thing. We have allowed the model, the paradigm, the priests of medicine to trick us into thinking that it's magic. It's like your prescription is in Latin,
Yes.
right? Does your doctor talk Latin?
No.
No. What does Latin remind you of? It reminds you of, Dominus, Christus, all the old Latin things they used to do in the religions to make the pagans and the people, the people couldn't read, all scared. Oh, he's speaking Latin. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a game. It's a trick. It's a show. But there's human suffering at the other end of it.
Sadly,
All right? Yes, it's a trick, it's a game, it's a show, it's all smoke and mirrors, it's entertainment, right? But there's suffering on the other side. That's the problem. That's the problem. So it's not fun and games, but it is a charade. What is it going to take for us to understand medicine is a charade? A charade, right?
yes.
Now, I'm not talking about surgeries where you got to get repaired. Those are important. But when you go to the doctor for prostate problems, what's he going to do? Really, what's he going to do? He's going to say, take this nerve thing. It'll keep you from peeing all over yourself, and it's going to maybe shrink your prostate a little bit, and then come see me in 6 months, and we'll see what else we can do. That's what he's going to say.
Oh, they send you straight to
That's
a
all they
surgeon.
say. That's all they say. Or they'll say, yeah, we'll have to do surgery. We'll have to take it out.
Yeah, that's
Really? It's because, and I don't want to make I don't want to make the individual doctors into bad people, because they're not. The individual doctors are not bad people. It's the
system.
overriding model, the system. Yeah, the system. That's where it is. And you know what? My dear friends in Australia suffer the most, and Europe and Canada and New Zealand. Because you're getting free stuff. And so there's a tremendous incentive just to do what they tell you to do, and to buy into what they're telling you to buy into what they're teaching you or talking to you about. So it's a little bit tough. But what I'm talking about, you know what I have in my favor when I talk about the stuff that they don't have? Common sense.
Yes.
Common sense. Logic. That's what I got in my. They got the Latin. They could tell you all about the genetics and the all the things that are going wrong at the molecular level, and the hidradenitis suppurativa and hereditary amyloidosis cardiomyopathy of the inflammatory cardiomyopathy, whatever it is. They can tell you all that stuff. I'm telling you common sense. The system is being corrupted at the level of the digestive system, the blood sugar system, the digestive system, and the immune system. I link together. Digestive, immune, the metabolic system. That is how we make energy with sugar, basically, and probably. That's probably it. If you really want to throw something else, you could throw in the endocrine system, the hormone system, but that's all secondary. It's all immunity. Oh, the connective tissue system. That's another system. The connective tissue system, that's the part of us that deteriorates, whose deterioration causes most of our problems, is the deterioration of the connective tissue, particularly as we age, as we get older. So those are the basic systems of the body that you want to focus on.
We don't get old. Then.
So for this guy, and anybody with prostate problems, fats. Fats, fats, fats. Fats are the hardest thing for the body to process. The chemistry is made up of two kinds of chemicals, water and fat. Oil and water don't mix, right?
Yep.
The watery stuff gives you quick energy for the neurology, for the immune system, for the skin. Yeah, there's overlap. I'm being very, I'm just being kind of simplifying here for educational purposes, because there's overlap. It's not that cut and dry. But if you want to kind of divide things up, say the B vitamins, vitamin C, the electrolytes, the water-soluble nutrients, quick energy, the long-term stuff, how cells grow, how cells divide, how they respond to stresses, all of that is regulated by the fats. And so as we age, it's really the fats that are the thing you want to focus on. To compound the problem, because as we age, we don't process our fats, they're complex. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly on a knife. The jelly washes right off. That's water. But the peanut butter is trickier because it
It's savory.
sticks. So the fats are a little bit trickier. So number one, as we age, we lose our ability to process fats as our body breaks down. But number two, we have done such a number industrially on our fats that the toxicity that the average person is under, the toxic burden that the average body is being subjected to strictly by corrupted fats cannot help but lead to issues with fats, which means growth and cell division and responding to stress. So when you have problems with fats, the main issues are going to be around growth and cell division and responding to stress, long-term kinds of things. Not the short term, not the quick burst thing, but the long-term kinds of stuff. That's where cancer falls in. That's where cysts and fibroids and growths fall into. That's the category those fall in. All the ways we age are primarily about processing fats and about ingestion of poor fats. To compound the problem, there are certain glands in the body that are mostly fatty. The breasts, the brain, that brain's not a gland, but the brain is mostly fat, and the prostate. The prostate is a fatty gland, so it's very responsive to fats for good or bad, for better or for worse. Good fats will make it good, bad fats will make it bad. What do we all love to eat so much? French fries and pizza and fried chicken and all these distorted fats. The fatty glands of the body are going to be the ones that are the most susceptible to damage. And so look what we have. We got an epidemic of prostate issues and an epidemic of breast issues, both of which are about the fats. So for both those conditions, they're very similar. Fats, 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 fats. Now, this is true about everything, of course, but that's what you're going to focus on. So if you look at the supplements for the prostate, what are the supplements they give you for the prostate? Saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, pygeum, omega-3 fats, zinc, selenium. All of these nutrients are processed by the fatty part of the body. So all your fatty nutrients, anything fatty, vitamin E and everything I just mentioned, zinc and omega fatty acids, particularly omega-3 fatty acids, anything to do with fats on the one end. And on the other end, avoid like the plague, because it is a plague. Refined, processed, heated, fried fats. Anything that's a distorted fat. Now, one of the most important things about a couple of other important things about fats, the inflammatory system, which we talked about as being behind everything, is controlled by fats. The inflammatory system is controlled by fats. And these fats are held in a very tight balance to control them. The inflammatory system, the anti-inflammatory system, the healing system, all of these are kind of combined, and they're all controlled by fats. So ingestion of the lousy fats, the fried fats, especially the fried fats, I can't say that enough, but all of them, even flour has some distorted, rancid fat in it. So it's everywhere. It's very hard to really stay away from this kind of stuff, but you got to focus on it, particularly if you're dealing with a prostate issue, God forbid, cancer issue. So clean fats. Get on the Healthy Start the Healthy Start Pack for sure. But there's the Prostate X, and there's another one. There's another prostate one, which I forgot what it is.
Yeah, there's one in the Good Herbs line as well, but I can't remember what it's
That's
called.
probably saw palmetto. Saw palmetto is not, that's the one that gets all the credit, but that's not really all that. It's more about the nutrition. And I like herbs. They're all well and good, but they're nothing like nutrition. Yeah. That's really what you want to focus on. And it's the fatty nutrients. So if you use the Prostate X, you'll get them. And there's a couple other prostate supplements that Longevity has that'll get them as well. Stay away from the fats. Now, it's always a good idea to treat yourself like a diabetic. And it's always a good idea to work on the first point of the triangle of disease as well. But it's really in the fats. And that's what you really want to focus on first and foremost. Digestion, yes. Blood sugar also. Fats, fats, fats.
There you go. So stay away from the fat.
Okay, and then the bad fats. Now, there's two kinds of this guy has, I think they call BPH here. I don't know if you guys call it. That's when the prostate grows. That's inflammation of the cells of the prostate. There's also prostatitis, which is like an infection, and then there's prostate cancer. In fact, Joe Biden just got diagnosed with a severe form of prostate cancer, and it can kill you for sure, but prostate cancer can happen. You don't even know it. You can live a good, strong, long life, and then when you die, they find you had prostate cancer. You didn't even know it. So it's not the end of the world necessarily, but you want to make sure you're taking care of your prostate.
Very good. So hopefully that helps to answer some questions. Would that include meats, especially fatty meats? Karen's asking.
You know, fat meat is not as big a problem as, I'm sorry, meat fat is not as big a problem as vegetable fat. Vegetable fat's the big problem. But yeah, it's probably not a great idea to eat a lot of distorted fats of any kind, but it's really the vegetable oils that are the big problem. Seed oils, they call them.
Very good. So, yes, like I said, Karen had someone in her room with that issue, asking
with
that
what issue?
the week. Asking a prostate question, but I didn't get to it because I didn't see it till after we'd finished. But anyway, now I did send you another thing regarding this new virus, but I don't know if
the new virus.
It's a new virus affecting kidneys caused by shedding from others.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Who were jabbed, even though the person who's this is affected, they've not been.
I don't know. That sounds. I'm not going to say yay or nay on that. That sounds like a little much. The body should be able to handle viruses. If you get a virus from shedding a virus, you got a bigger problem than virus. You got an immune system problem.
Yeah, well, it's a new one they're calling, so I don't know if you've even heard.
I don't believe anything they say. I don't believe any of that stuff. I don't believe a single word.
We'll get asked about it because it's.
You ever hear that old joke? How do you know he's lying? Because his lips are moving. Right? That's how I know the government's lying, because their lips are moving. I don't believe a single word, not a peep, not a syllable. Sorry to say, not a syllable. You know, and the sooner we get it through our head, they'll just be talking to themselves. You know,
they do talk to themselves anyway, because most of us don't just listen. Well, yeah, most of us here don't listen anyway. Now, I'm going to have Michael Freeman mute himself. And
hi guys.
Yes, sir. Oh. Hi, Michael.
Hello. Hi, Ben.
Who's Michael?
Lovely to hear from you.
Can you put your video on as well, Mike?
Yeah, so I can
spotlight you.
I'm sitting in my car at the moment, so.
We don't care where you're sitting.
But I've figured out the world behind me, so that's great.
All right, good. What's going on, Michael? Good to see you.
Yeah, Ben. I've been listening to you for years, particularly with Becca Dukes. I found longevity because I've been researching, analyzing health for 16 years now. After all my patients, every single one passed away from different chronic diseases, and I said, why?
Nice.
Why is that happening? So rather than just ignore it, I just been researching day after day and talking to people about about metabolic system and mitochondria and the gut flora and everything. Wow. And then when I came and I found longevity probably about 10 years ago, and then it went off my radar, and I came back only to a conference here in Brisbane. No,
Gold Coast. During the cyclone.
Okay.
And hey, you guys were still here in Australia, which is great. And look, I mean, I'm 73 years old now.
You're awesome. I can tell just by looking at you. You look great. You look awesome. That's great. What do you do? What did you do? Are you retired? What kind of work do you do? What's your specialty?
Yeah, look, I was retired, but really, honestly, everybody around me in my generation is just falling apart, and they're totally clueless. They're totally clueless. And
were you a scientist? Were you a healthcare professional?
No, I was basically a policeman in UK originally, and then I went to Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. And I think actually there were some crazy Americans over there in the 70s who were trying to save the rhino and everything.
Did you say Rwanda? What did you say?
No, Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe.
Where Doc Wallach was.
Yeah, Doc Wallach was kind of down there too. Well, that's very. I I want everybody to hear what Michael said, because what Michael said is very important. I'm going to, talk about you behind your back here
Yeah.
while you're here. He said he did research. What we're talking about here stands up to research.
Mm.
You don't need it necessarily because it's such common sense. Everything I'm talking about is kind of logical. Michael, you probably realize this is all very logical stuff. But
Yeah, exactly.
there's no disputing it.
No.
No disputing what we're talking about here. You can't. You could put any doctor, any nuclear physicist, any chemical engineer or biochemist here, and they could not refute a peep of what I'm saying. And that's why I always tease Bronie and also Becca. They always start off with, we're too stupid. We don't know what we're talking about. Your doctor really is the bottom line here. We're just here for entertainment purposes. Ha ha ha. And I tease you about that because you're right. You have to say that. But what I'm saying, I don't have to worry about it because it's engineering. It's just, this is connected to that. There's nothing here, no brand names, no curing, none of that stuff that they all make a big stink about. What we're talking about is logic. They cannot dispute leaky gut. You can't argue that. There's nobody who can argue toxicity in the blood and hypercoagulability of the blood and lack of oxygen and lack of zeta potential and all the things we talk about. They can't say a peep about it. And I know people out there want me to, they feel uncomfortable. I don't know enough. I can't. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know enough if you understand how your toilet works. If you understand how your sink works. It's hemodynamics, fluid dynamics, the movement of fluids through the body. It's not medicine. Medicine is not a science. We have to get that out of our head. Medicine is not a science. It's based on best guesses. Science is not about guesses. And by the way, no scientist ever said in the history of science, no scientist ever said, trust the science. Only the medical people say, trust the science. Scientists don't say, trust the science. You never hear that from a scientist. So, the point being is what we're talking about here is so logical and simple. And we have to get the mind virus out of our head that has infected us to think that, Dominus Cautis, all the Latin mystery that's associated with the mumbo jumbo, with the Latin diagnoses and everything. We got to get that out of our head. If you can figure out your sink and your toilet and your plumbing, you can figure out your body.
Right. And now we'll get to Michael's question.
Yes. Oh, do you have a question?
Yes, I did.
I thought you were just telling me about how you joined. How did you join, by the way? Who signed you up? Or how did you?
It was really through my research about 10 years ago.
You've been in 10 years? You've been with Youngevity for 10 years?
10 years ago, but I came away, been traveling and living in other parts of the world. And of course, Youngevity might not be there. But I just researched it and eventually I walked into the offices in New Zealand and said, hey, can I join?
Good for you. Well, whoever signed you up, you got a winner right here with Michael Freeman.
Well, I never saw my upline. They were back in the States, and I had one conversation, and that was it. But
awesome.
I'm back now. And
What's your question? What's your question? I didn't mean to...
Yeah, look, the question is from a lovely lady I've been just talking to. Jude is a delightful. I'll read you her question. Jude is a delightful lady. That was my bit. In her early 60s, slim, eats a good low carb diet, embraces an active lifestyle, supplements regularly, and last month started on BTT. Her health issues stem back 10 years with a series of events. The first one was contracting an arbovirus called Ross River fever, which resulted in severe disabling symptoms, which has proved over the years. But however, Jude still has migraines, severe migraines that puts her under for about a day or two. And these occur one to three times a fortnight. And chronic sleep issues, obviously. Jude has also had several episodes of physical concussion from head trauma in the past, anyway, and diagnosed with PTSD, which she feels may have prevented a full recovery. That's her question. I've tried to hone out, take out some of the...
That's look, when you do this as long as I've been doing it and talk to so many people, you see patterns.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll tell me what you just said, and I'll tell her about her bowel movements, or about her menstrual cycles, or about her hair, or about her skin. Because it's just, these things happen as a constellation. They don't just happen, like I was saying earlier. They happen, they happen like a forest. We see the trees. She's telling me all about the trees. There's a forest. And that's really what's happening here. So, and I could tell you all about her. You could just stop. You could have just stopped at the migraines or at the, at the PTSD parts. And PTSD is very important, by the way. There's
Right.
a really important link between childhood and adulthood in terms of health. Our health is
Mm.
a thread that runs from childhood to adulthood for better or worse. And this is
Yeah.
extremely important to recognize because we don't talk about it a lot in nutrition. We're always talking about nutrition, understandably, it's very fundamental. But PTSD is a common denominator with chronic disease. Common denominator, particularly with multiple chronic diseases, particularly with chronic diseases that don't respond the way they should respond. And most chronic diseases don't. But really, when we see somebody who's not responding, you can rest assured there's a PTSD element, and that usually comes from childhood, even though it could happen later in life too. But it's usually a harmonic of a fundamental PTSD that happened in childhood. Now, I'm not here to diagnose anybody psychologically or anything, but it just needs to be recognized. Just needs to
Yeah.
be recognized, okay? That's first and foremost. One of the pillars and one of the first principles, have you heard of the concept of first principles? The first
Yes.
principle, right? So one of the first principles in how this game is played, okay, and I call it a game not because it's fun, but because it's a system that you take step by step, like you're playing a game here, like you're following rules. And one of the first principles is it all is about toxicity that gets into the body,
Yeah.
whether it's at the metabolic level, which is the blood sugar level, or whether it's at the digestive level. That is to say, whether it's at the level of big stuff, molecules, peptides, those kinds of things, or small stuff, quantum stuff. That's what we're talking about here at the level of the metabolism. We're talking about disturbances at the quantum level. Now, I'm not going to go into any fancy schmancy quantum, so have no fear, but that is what I'm talking about is big, small. And that's pretty being simplistic. Big is digestive system. The enemy gets into the body via the digestive system, leaky gut. First principle, always leaky gut.
Yeah.
The second issue is at the micro level, which is really the quantum level, not the micro level, but the quantum level, and that is how those big things that got in the system, how they get converted into energy at what Michael said earlier, the mitochondria in the cells. Again, I don't want to get into too much biochemistry, so we just say big, small. Disturbances in the system occur at the big level, small level. That's your first principle. That means everything. Prostate, myocarditis, whatever we talked about earlier today. For this lady that's got all the disparate kinds of health challenges, everything. Toxicity in the system in big and then in small. Now, afterwards, you can start getting into things like thyroid hormone and steroid hormones and the adrenal glands and all that. That's what I used to call the third point in the triangle disease. I don't even talk about that anymore because that just confused things. Those two areas for her, and now keeping in mind the PTSD also, you got to address that at that level.
Yeah.
But aside from that, correct digestive issues. Get her to go on a low-calorie, ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
Get her to chart her foods and notice foods that cause digestive distress. You didn't mention anything about digestive distress, but I'm sure it's there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay?
we did talk about food diary, and I'm a keto
All
guy.
of that. And then one of the things, there's overlap between the PTSD, the emotions, and the body. And one of the bridges, one of the connections between the emotions and the body is sugar
Yeah.
and high calorie. And excitotoxins and molecules they put in food that bridge the emotion with the body. That is to say, we have mental problems, the PTSD issues, I don't say mental, but psychological problems. It's difficult to control the reward foods, which are high energy, the sugar foods. So you got to address it on that level. People, understandably, they have a coping mechanism. It's her medicine. Basically, you can't tell somebody, here's the foods you're eating that are making you feel better about life. All of a sudden, you can't eat them. That's hard to do. So you just tell her to dial it back a little bit. And then in the meantime, at least recognize the link. And in the meantime, use nutrients that support her body's ability to process that. The sweeties, particularly, but also the Fucoid Z, and of course the Healthy Start Pack. I would do the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack is what I would do. Throw in the Fucoid Z, throw in the Ultimate Niacin, and then the migraine headaches. that's going to be a digestive thing that she's going to watch. You didn't mention, you didn't tell me anything about her menstrual issue or her female issues. There's got to be female health issues there as well.
Yeah.
How old is
didn't
she?
mention it. She's sick
How
about
old?
63, 63.
So she's probably postmenopausal, but ask her historically about that. Historically
Yeah.
about her issues, that kind of thing. I mean, you know, you don't want to probe too much, but those will all give you clues. To cut to the chase, though, digestion and metabolism. First 2 points.
Yeah, that's great. We did talk about leaky gut, and that was the first area.
Did she mention gas, or did she mention gas, bloating?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, sort of. She was. She really. She's pretty healthy from the health point of view, but
she's not great. But listen, you know, that's interesting.
Her outlook, I should say, not her actual diagnosis. But I
she's
think
not healthy. But a lot of people think they're healthy because we've set the bar so low.
Yeah,
We think we're healthy if we get out of bed. You know, that's considered to be healthy. If we can survive the day without having a heart attack, we think we're healthy. We've set the bar so low on what's possible. So she may think she's healthy. And I do hear a lot of times people give me a whole list of stuff and they say, but otherwise I'm healthy. And that sounds funny. But it's not. It's because we don't understand that we have so much, we're settling. We're leaving so much health on the table. We're leaving so much joie de vivre and excitement and passion and being happy to be alive and bolting out of bed on the table.
Just another additional question. I got a little bit confused with longevity. So many products. The leaky gut. I want for her and other people I'm talking to solve that problem first, because I think probably 90% of people have got leaky gut. Which would you hone in on the leaky gut?
As far as product goes, I-26.
Yeah.
Fucoid Z.
Yeah.
Collagen peptides. Healthy bone and joint pack. Anything for connective tissue.
Yeah.
Daily Digest, Ultimate Enzymes, Nightly Essence, and then if you want to throw one more thing in, Dr. Ariaza's Liver Cleanse. You guys know Dr. Ariaza, right? Down there?
Yes, we have him from time to time.
Yes, he's wonderful.
Thanks very much, Ben. I appreciate that.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing all that. That's beautiful.
Lovely to talk to you again at last.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Michael.
I love that. I love researchers. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you for that, Michael. Now, Gracie.
Look at that handsome picture.
Sorry, hang on. Yvonne, what are you sharing? Just unmute and show us what you're sharing.
Who is that?
Sorry. Say again.
I'm talking to Yvonne. She's trying to show you something. Go on. Show us again, Yvonne.
Yvonne, oh, look at that. Yvonne got the Walls Protocol. Did you start reading it?
Talking about that.
Oh, look at that. She's great. She's great. Look at Yvonne. Look how smiley and beautiful you look, Yvonne. You look gorgeous. That's so cool.
Better.
And they were the books that was the one you recommended that would help with.
I know that book. It's a great book. It's a great book. Yeah, that's awesome. But look, listen, everybody out there who saw Yvonne a month ago or whatever that was when we first saw her, look, got a new woman here. Got a new woman. Congratulations, Yvonne. That's awesome. You know, when I hurt my leg, I had a bad leg accident a few years ago, and it was really severe. And I had my leg up on after surgery. I had surgery, and after I had surgery, I had my leg up, and I looked at my leg, and I could feel my leg, and I felt this overwhelming sadness coming from my leg. I felt like my leg was really, really sad. And so I sent love and healing, and I healed really well. I wasn't supposed to walk normally, and I healed really well. But I remember this overwhelming sadness that came out of my leg, and that's sometimes how our body feels when it's not healthy. It feels sad. The body itself, aside from us, the person who we think we are, the body itself has a sadness to it when it's unhealthy. And conversely, it has a happiness to it when it's healthy. And you can see the difference. And you can especially see the difference when you've been sad and then all of a sudden you're happy, or you see somebody who's been sad and all of a sudden they're happy. You see the delta, the difference between the two. Yvonne, you know what I'm saying? Can you see how you look different in the mirror? Yeah. When you look in the mirror, can you see how you look different? Yeah. It's a happiness and a sadness that transcends our ordinary sense of happiness or sadness. It's the body's happiness or sadness. So that's a beautiful thing to see, Yvonne, and it only gets better. It only gets better.
All right. Well, and it's good to see Yvonne's face. She's here
Yes.
every week.
I love it. I love it. You keep coming back, Yvonne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
She's a
much.
beautiful, supportive friend. Now, Gracie was on here, but she's working and stuff. So I'll ask one of the questions that she has. She knows someone who was told they had had a stroke from a blood test which happened possibly a month ago, could have even been
From
a
a
year
blood
ago.
test? From a blood
Had a
test?
blood test that told her
Yeah.
that apparently she had a stroke.
Oh, okay,
And-
gotcha.
Right? The test was about a month ago, but they think she could have even had it longer than that ago, even a
Okay.
year ago. But this person didn't have any symptoms at all of
No,
having a
it's very
stroke.
possible.
What
very
what could the cause of this be, and how can this happen where the person didn't get any symptoms, and should they be concerned, and what to
Yeah,
what
all
to
of
do
that,
about
all that. Ask me the questions one by one and I'll answer them.
it? Okay, so what could be the cause of
Okay, so
a stroke
Okay,
without
so-
symptoms?
what could be the cause of a stroke? Whether it has symptoms or not is a whole different issue. What you mean? What is the cause of a stroke? Right? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, this person didn't
Well-
even feel any symptoms, have any symptoms.
Okay, so what is a stroke exactly?
It's usually
A stroke is when a part of your brain doesn't get oxygen
Mhm.
and nutrition. Blood supply stops to a part of the brain. It's interrupted. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Blood flow to the brain is restricted or it's cut off for some reason. The question is for a while to answer that in a second. But that's the definition of a stroke. Okay? You with me?
Yes.
Okay. Depending on you, you gotta acknowledge here because I can't see anybody else. So I'm using you as my barometer. So you got to say yay or nay.
Okay.
So blood flow is stopped. There's a couple of reasons. One reason is a clot. That's the most common reason. And the second reason is you could have a rupture, and so you get a leak in blood vessels and blood vessels in the brain. So part of the brain doesn't get oxygenated. So the question is what causes it? We always talk about I talk about the metabolic, we just had a discussion with Michael about the metabolic system and the digestive system, and those are the two systems. But what is the mechanism? The mechanism is dirty blood.
Yeah.
Toxicity gets in the blood, it's dirty blood. Sugar gets in the blood, it's dirty blood. It's all about dirty blood. Yeah, that's really why I said it's plumbing. It's about dirty blood. When the blood becomes dirty, and I say dirty because I like the way it sounds, because it really is graphic, gives you an image of what's happening, and that is true. Doctors say hypercoagulable. That's the fancy way.
Yeah, and
It's
who knows what that
hypercoagulable.
means?
Yes, hypercoagulable. That means hyper a lot, coagulable, it sticks, it clots. It tends to clot. The blood, the blood's very misleading because it looks like the blood is just this red fluid in the body. No, the blood is an organ, a tissue. It's highly complex. It has to be kept just the right temperature, just the right fluid levels, just the right enzyme levels, just the right pH levels, just the right oxygen levels, just the right amount of movement. There's so many parameters that have to be just so dialed in, just perfectly. Then all of a sudden you start flooding the body with all kinds of disturbing molecules, either big molecules from the leaky gut or smaller molecules from the sugar. The system goes haywire. It completely goes nuts. And one of the generic responses to a body that's in great emergency. Do you remember Lost in Space? I know I did before, but I like doing this. Danger, 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 Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, that
One
was
of
a
the
good
classic manifestations of that when the body goes into this danger mode is the blood will clot. When you go to surgery and they cut you open, to the body, that represents a major emergency. The body doesn't know you're in a surgical room. It thinks you've been eaten by a lion. It doesn't know that there's your body's operating on a 2 million year old schedule here. It doesn't know you're in a modern 2025 surgical room with robots and anesthetic and lights. It thinks it's on the African savannah. It just got bitten into by a lion, so it goes into emergency mode. What is that emergency mode? The blood clots, so you don't bleed all over the African savannah. That's why they give you heparin. Heparin is a blood thinner.
Mm.
Under conditions of duress, the blood will clot. The duress can be psychological duress. It could be a lack of oxygen duress. It could be toxicity from the gut, and it could be sugar, and likely it's all of the above. That's what causes clots, and that's what causes strokes. Now, it could have been either in a part of the brain, like that's a very small part of the brain, or that she didn't, that wasn't significant enough, damage wasn't significant enough for her to notice it. It could be that she didn't have any damage. I don't know what the answer to that is, but the way they measure a stroke or diagnose a stroke is they look in the blood for chemicals that are secreted when you have a stroke. Enzymes and various chemicals that are a sign of dead tissue in the brain, and they're in the blood. They obviously found that, if that's what they said. The real issue is you don't want it to happen again. You dodged a bullet.
That's correct.
This is a person who dodged a bullet. Praise God, get on your knees, because nobody wants to die of heart disease, but guess what? It's better to be dead sometimes than have a stroke. Have you ever seen somebody in a stroke?
Yes.
Right? And some stroke.
That's how my mother passed away.
I can't even imagine, because it could happen to anybody. We don't know. We don't know anybody.
My mom and my sister.
Me. We don't know. You lose your arm. You can't see. You're in a wheelchair. One day you're okay, and the next day you have no arm. You're blind. Can you imagine? This is what awaits us if we don't keep that blood clean. It's better to die sometime. I don't know. A case could be made. It's better to die. So stroke is the worst potentially. She dodged a bullet. That's a woman who should be taking, if it was me, serious measures that never happens again. And there's a lot of things you could do, but it begins with cleaning the blood. That means eliminating the stream of toxicity, reducing the sugar. Oxygenation is important. Movement, dynamic movement of the blood through deep breathing, through exercise, through just taking walks, jumping up and down on a rebounder. There's a ton of ways to do it. Liquefying the blood is also important. Above and beyond the healthy brain and heart pack. Above and beyond that. Digestive enzymes taken on an empty stomach. They roto-rooter the blood. Glucogel caps can have a liquefying effect on the blood. Ultimate EFAs can have a liquefying effect on the blood. Breathing, oxygen has a liquefying effect on the blood. And one of my all-time favorite supplements for having a liquefying effect, you know what I mean by saying liquefying, anti-clotting, anticoagulating effect, Fucoid Z. That's one of its most important benefits, and that's one of the reasons why Fucoid Z is good for so many different things, is because it's working on the level of the blood, among other places. It works on a lot of fundamental levels. But the blood, by helping purify the blood, or not purify, but liquefying the blood, it has benefits everywhere. And she should definitely be on that. And then, of course, anything to prevent toxicity from entering into the digestive system is also going to be important. There's a lot of things she can do. And I suggest she does every single one of them, as many of them as she can find.
Well, that's good. I think that's exactly what Gracie wants to help her. Now, we have all three types of the Fucoid Z down here now.
I don't know there's three. I didn't know there's three.
We only just got the liquid. We have had
the liquid is not Fucoid Z. The liquid is Z radical.
Z radical. Okay.
That's not the same.
Okay, so it's not the same as the capsules.
No. Z radicals for kids. It's a tonic.
Okay, so you would suggest that the capsules would be best.
100%. It's not even close.
Yeah, and because we also have it in a powder form, but
the powder's probably good too. I don't know the powder that well. The thing about the liquid, it's not the same. That's a beverage. That's not the same. It's not medicine. It's a beverage.
Okay. So I find is great. I add it to a drink that I make up for my mother-in-law, who, like your mum, doesn't want to listen.
Oh, doesn't want to listen. Okay. What do you do? You put Fucoid Z in her drink,
yes. I finally have got her to. I make her up a glass jug of probably about a litre and a half of.
It's funny. Older people
things, and she only started doing this when she saw me sharing some of my hydration sticks with people when we were down at the hospital.
Fighting nice cancer. Job.
Right?
Nice job, Bronie. People in the hospital really benefit from this stuff. People in the hospital really, really benefit. It's the Lord's work. It's really beautiful work to give them hydration.
Well, I have to make it up for her. And since we've got the liquid here, because she, takes so many medications, she doesn't want to not take another one. So I thought, right, I'm getting that, and I add it to that. And so if it's a good alternative when because like you say, some people like liquids, some like capsules, some like the powder. But I'm glad you told me. I'm glad I asked that questions because I wanted to know, was there a difference?
Between what?
The
Z radicals. Yeah, Z radical. I don't even consider that to be. I never talk about Z radical. Z radical is like a drink for kids.
Okay. Very good. Now Harry's just put a question in the comments because he's come on late.
Hi, Harry.
Harry, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, Ben. Lovely to see you. Thanks. Yeah, come through. Yeah. Just going to ask you a question, Ben. While we got you, you sent like an angel. I tell you, seriously. I just want to if I run it past you anyway, to tell you the rest will be okay. Thank you so much, love. Yeah, you're beautiful. Thank you. Question, Ben, is Magda's broken 5 ribs in the last 3 weeks, and she's healing at the moment.
Magda.
This is Magda.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Magda.
She's a longevity distributor.
Yeah,
hi,
she's
Magda.
94.
Sorry.
Yeah, she knows Tom Chenault, and she knows Cheryl Morley because Magda's been
my
involved
friends.
since 2005. And now we've just found there's a lump in her right breast as big as a golf ball. And they want to do a mammogram, and then they want
mammogram.
All these
they
things.
Want to do a mammogram, like they want to look at it to see what it is.
Yep.
Well, look, once you have that going, you gotta do what you gotta do. That's not a nutritional thing. The trick is to get before that happens.
Yeah.
Once you've got a lump, you don't want to be playing around with a lump.
Yeah. Right.
There's no. That's serious, I'm guilty of knocking the medical model, but when you have a lump, you got a lump. You got to do something about that. The ribs, you want to be doing more protein, but there's so much stuff happening, Magna. There's so much stuff happening here. If you want to do something quick, and this is what everybody who has a lump or has a growth should be doing, it's if you dramatically restrict your calories, but ideally fast, or ketogenic diet. Dramatically reduce the work. The more work your body has to do digesting food and processing the stuff in food, the less resources it's going to have to fight cancer or growths. So you really want to put the body in a condition where it's not depriving resources or diverting resources to the digestive system, and it's conserving them for fighting and healing. And then also, when you're fasting, the body activates many healing systems, many healing mechanisms that are suppressed by food.
Yeah.
There's an evolutionary mechanism that ties fasting and lack of nutrition or undernutrition, undernourishment with building and fighting disease. To the body, it all happens together. A lack of nutrition happens together with disease. And so by shutting down by shutting down nutrients, by shutting down the nutritional system, the body senses, oh my God, we got to go get food, basically. We got to get stronger. We got to deal. And so you're tricking the body into thinking that it's got to work to fight the disease. And so fasting is a very powerful strategy. At the very least, calorie restriction or ketogenic diet. And
Magna's biggest issue there is the fact she's in a
nursing home.
In a nursing home.
She's in a nursing home.
And they will not let her go without it.
Oh no, that's a whole different thing.
No minerals or anything. I can't even.
That's a whole different thing. Well, then everything's hypothetical at that point.
Yeah.
Look,
that's true.
That's what I was saying earlier. God bless you, Magna, because that's the way the system is. But what you could do is chicken soup, beyond tangy tangerine. Eat as little processed and cooked food as possible. If you can tell them in the nursing home you want salads, like vegetables that are not cooked, raw vegetable. I don't know if you can tell them that. I don't know how much leeway you have there, but you don't want anything cooked. You want to minimize the cooked stuff. You want to minimize the nutrient depleted calories. Calories without nutrition is a big problem. So you want to minimize your intake of those and maximize your supplements. That's what I would do. Healthy bone, healthy. I do the healthy bone and joint pack for the ribs. Healthy bone and joint pack also for the immune system. Lots of fats. Ultimate EFAs. There's a lot you can do, but unfortunately, in the system you're in, you can't do everything.
Ben, do they take a biopsy as well at the same time, or only if they?
Yeah,
detect?
they'll probably take. They might. I don't know. I don't know what they do down there. They might though.
Yeah.
As a rule, they would.
That's nothing you want to mess around with though.
No.
Magna, God bless you. Get Magna some tea. You know what TMR shake is?
Yeah.
Magna
sure.
can use some TMR shake right now. Get her some TMR shake.
You'll have to just to smuggle it in, Harry. I've heard people say this before.
Yeah.
They
A plastic
bring it
bag.
in a McDonald's cup.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Because they'll let you bring in Coke in the McDonald's cup, but they won't let you bring in nutrition.
Yeah, get her some TMR and get her some BTT.
Yeah. Ronnie McDonald. Yeah,
in a Ronald McDonald bag. That'll be.
I know that sounds terrible, but
no, that sounds great. That's great.
Well, maybe in a takeaway large coffee cup.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Love that.
Thank
you, Harry. Thank you, Magna.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing. Bless you all. Thanks so much.
It's really quite sad. We can't look after our health. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that. Does anyone else have any questions?
It's time for me to mosey on.
Yeah, it is time for us to close this out. So as I ask you all nicely,
why don't you close it out with a song?
A bit late. I have to. Hang on. Carmen has a question. A bit late. Hang on. I missed it. Well, she's just got a question there in the comments. A bit late. I have been on aspirin since I had a cardiac episode, and I no longer feel my heart beating, which I felt for a couple of years in the past. No one picked up until my annual cardiologist during a stress echo test. Carmen, are you able to unmute?
I can unmute, but I can't put my camera on at the moment because.
Okay, so tell me about. I didn't quite understand the note, Carmen.
Oh, sorry. Well, what it is. Thank you for listening.
Sure.
Yeah, I had an episode last November, and no one really picked it up prior to that, and I was on an echo stress test. And my blood pressure went up to 200, and then they monitored my blood pressure, and then the next day they were suggesting I go to surgery to see if I have a blockage, and I did, and I had a stent put in.
Okay, so what's the
question? Yeah, we were talking about it before, but Magda's story was more interesting for me to listen to rather than write. We were talking about how your body feels happy and my body feels light, and I no longer feel my heart. It's a really strange feeling.
Well, you no longer feel the heart. I didn't know what you mean by feel your heart.
I don't feel my heart beating because I used to feel it.
You used to feel your heart beating, and now, so you feel lighter now. Your heart is happy. Your body's happy.
My body feels light.
I get that.
Inside. I mean, I am only light, but my body.
That's very beautiful. Yeah, you're only light.
So your heart's happy.
Yeah.
Yes, your body's happy. I can only tell by what you're saying. I wish I could see you, but based on what you're saying, you sound like a very sharp woman there, Carmen. I'd love to be able to talk to you about that stuff. Sounds like you know some stuff.
What was that?
I wish I could see your face.
He would love to see your face, but
it sounds like you know some stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You understand some stuff. You're intuitive. Let's put it this way. You're intuitive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes. And I'd like to see you because that would help me. But even
we will. I am on here at times.
Yeah, it's on next time.
My internet is breaking up, and it's just...
No worries. But hearing you, I can tell that you're very intuitive, and you're very intuitive.
All right. So Gracie's just popped back in, but I just wanted to let her know that, yes, I did ask the question about stroke. So
that was you about the stroke.
That was for Gracie. Yes.
Thank you. I'm just driving, so I appreciate that. So I just wanted to know the cause and what can be done, and is it because of deficiencies? Basically, is that why things like that happen?
Well, it's a lot of things, but deficiencies are involved. I forgot to mention niacin is also. I don't think I mentioned the ultimate niacin.
No, you didn't. But that.
Yeah, the ultimate niacin. That Gracie just reminded me of that the ultimate niacin Cool. Thank you, Gracie.
So is that quite dangerous then? If it wasn't picked up, she didn't have symptoms, but through her blood test, they said that that's what had happened. Is that dangerous then in her position?
Yes, it's very dangerous. That's what I'm saying. You really want to take corrective measures immediately.
Okay.
Because like I said, she dodged a bullet. She could have been anything that happened. So
Yes.
So that's
you will enjoy the replay, Gracie.
Oh, lovely. Thank you both. I appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We'll get you off, so we don't want you getting into trouble because you're driving.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right.
See you. Bye.
I gotta motivate.
Well, okay, so as I ask you all nicely here in Bronie's world, to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you are doing your research like Michael does and like Ben does, and you're taking care of that leaky gut, you'll fix a lot of things, then you too will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. God bless you all. Catch you again tomorrow here in Bronie's world. Bye, Ben, and thank you very much for your time. Bye.